Hi, this is John from FlatCatGear. There's two things I want to talk about in this video. The first thing I want to talk about is simmering. So I've been doing a lot of baking videos with the Epicurean stove, particularly the Epicurean Titanium Stove. One thing to keep in mind is this stove is really designed for baking and simmering, and in general I think that people are going to be doing more simmering than baking. Baking is kind of a luxury item, it takes an extra time, while simmering is something you can use all the time. I'm going to demonstrate that in this video today. So for simmering, to simmer, you light the stove, you put the Epicurean Titanium crown side down, bring your item to a boil, and when you're ready to simmer, you remove the pot and the windscreen, you flip the stove over and put it back down on the edge, but you're in simmer mode right away. The nice thing about the Epicurean Titanium Stove is that it'll bring, a cup and a half, 2 cups of water to boil in about 8 minutes. And then when you flip it over and simmer, you get about 8-10 more minutes of simmering time. And, to extend that, you just leave it in the windscreen with the flat cat hat on, and you can let that soak another 10 minutes if you wish. There are two things I wanted to talk about in this video. And the first one was the simmering capability of our Epicurean stove. It does a great job simmering. So baking, you can bake for an hour. Simmering, you can simmer for an hour. Stove is great. The second thing I want to talk about is meals and preparing meals. So about meals, one of the things I find interesting is seeing what I can find in my regular grocery store to make a meal out of. Now, this is the classic type of meal, freezer bag meal. You open it up, you add 1.5, 2 cups, 2.5 cups of water, put it back in the foil sealed pouch and let it set for 8-10 minutes, and then you eat the meal. So you buy these at a lot of sporting goods stores, are around $7. So one of the interesting things I've tried recently, and it actually works out pretty well, is, believe it or not, is this. Now in the United States, these are pre-packaged meals called Hamburger Helper. And what you do is you take like ground beef, you brown it, then you add the contents of this to it and some water, and you cook it up and you've got a complete meal. Well, the nice thing about these are, particularly this one, it only takes ground beef. And it turns out ground beef is pretty easy to dry at home. So this makes a pretty good start for a backpacking meal. The other thing that's interesting about this is if you look at these two, they're going to cost about the same. This one runs around $7 US. This package I just bought for $2, but I only use half of it for a meal for 2, so it's $1. But the difference is the ground beef that you use while backpacking. If you're going to dry it, you end up with a high percentage or low percentage of fat. So I use like 96% fat free, and that cost me here about $10 for a pound of it. So all said and done, when you compare apples to apples, this runs about $7. This runs about $6, but you got the extra effort to put into it to dry the beef and such, and rehydrate the beef. The thing that's probably the most interesting is if you look on the side here, this has 21 grams of protein in this package. Now, this Hamburger Helper, since I'm only making half of it, it actually has between 50 and 60 grams of protein in this when you prepare it as directed. So my guess is, number one, it has a lot more meat in it than this package does. The other thing is, I believe, and I don't have data on this, but the freeze-dried process probably does a lot to take a number of things out of the meat that's not going to happen when you just do regular drying. The second thing is, if you look at this, the total package has probably about 500 calories in this package. If I make a half batch, which I'm going to do today, this has 800 calories in it. So the interesting thing about it is, number one, this you can make at home pretty easily by drying the beef. Number two, pound per pound, they're probably going to be about the same weight, but you get, about 5 times the amount of protein, and you get 300 more calories per meal. So calories per pound, this actually comes out ahead of a regular backpacking meal. So I'm going to go pretty quick through this because I already made this. This is what it comes with, this hamburger helper. It comes with pasta. It comes with 4 ounces, so I only need 2 ounces. There's a seasoning packet, which is the stroganoff. It's 1.5 ounces, so I only need 3/4 of an ounce. This calls for half order. It calls for 1 1/8 cups of milk, and so I'm going to add this powdered milk to it. 4 tablespoons added to 1 cup will make a cup of milk. Now this is what I would package up for backpacking. This comes in at 4 ounces. Plus I'm adding about 2 ounces of ground beef that has to be rehydrated. So my total package weight right here is 6 ounces. So that's pretty reasonable. So now to prepare this, I would take this beef, which is about a ½ pound of beef. I would soak this in water for probably about an hour, then drain it off, add it to this dry mixture, and then get my water boiling and just dump everything in, bring it to a boil, and let it simmer for 10 minutes. Alright, Esbit's lit. We'll get the water boiling first. Oil going in. Now the tricky part turning it to a simmer is that handle is extremely hot. Now I've been doing this for a while, so I know how to do it, but you may want to wear gloves when you do that. Come back in a few minutes and check out the simmer. That's what our simmer looks like. So time to boil was somewhere around 8 minutes. Turned it over to a simmer mode, let it simmer for, I think it was about 11-12 minutes before it burned out. Low simmer, no scorching on the pan. This is a little bit light on the hamburger. Didn't quite have ½ a pound. I think I had 6 ounces or something like that at the end of the day. This is supposed to thicken up as it cools a bit out of the pan, but you can see, to me, it looks like it's a pretty comparable meal. So again, these two are pretty close. A freeze-dried food versus this half a hamburger helper for 2 people. Price-wise, you're probably only going to save $1 by going to Hamburger Helper when you include the cost of the hamburger. But the difference is also the total calories. This is about 500. This is about 800 for the half serving, and also the amount of protein. This is at 12 grams of protein. This is somewhere between 50 or 60 grams. Anyway, the point is, 2 points I wanted to make again were, number 1, the Epicurean stove. Even though I've been doing a lot of videos on baking, it was really designed to simmer, and more than likely you're going to be doing simmering on the trail quite a bit more often than you are baking. So the Epicurean stove is excellent for simmering. Again, single Esbit, it'll burn for an hour. So the stove really rocks. The second thing is, there are foods in your grocery stores that you can take out backpacking. And this is, I find it fun to go exploring in the grocery store to see what I can do, look on the back, see what kind of ingredients it can take, see if it can be made into a backpacking meal. And it just gives you more options. So I'm a proponent of cooking meals. I'm a proponent of looking at alternatives other than freezer bag cooking. Freezer bag cooking is great. I've got a trip coming up this coming weekend, and I'm going to be taking a couple of these along as well. I don't bake every meal, but It gives you a bake or simmer every meal, but it gives you more options.